Have you ever had someone flirt just enough to keep you around but never actually do anything? That's something called breadcrumbing. And it's not just only frustrating, it's designed to hook your brain, confuse your gut, and waste your fucking time. So let's break down why it works, how to spot it, and how to take your power back. I hear this every single day of like, what is breadcrumbing? I don't know. I've never heard of this. And in a nutshell, how I really like to describe it, so they give you just enough to keep you on the hook, but not enough to satisfy your needs. So they give you these small little doses of connection or interest without real follow through. And that could look, which we will talk more about it, but like flaming a story on your emote, like, or an emoji flame on your story, but not actually showing up and making plans. These are the people that always say, we'll see, I'll let you know, maybe. And the psychology behind breadcrumbing to me is what I think is really interesting and kind of why we fall for it. So it's something called intermittent reinforcement. And intermittent reinforcement triggers the brain's dopamine loop, and that's your reward system, which lights up more from unpredictability than it does consistency. So think about a slot machine. So slot machines, which are the unpredictable, the inconsistent, that's going to make you feel like I never know when I'm going to get another. I want that. I'm craving that from this person versus like a stable paycheck. It's something that you know is coming, you know that you can look forward to, and our brain loves unpredictability because, well, it doesn't love it, but it's trying to solve it, right? And our brain, especially if you grew up in a space, like for me personally, when I grew up with a lot of trauma, with a lot of childhood stuff, the unpredictability to me was, am I going to get saved? Are they going to come back for me? Is this going to validate that I am actually worthy and deserving of enough? And when it comes to breadcrumbing, it can often feel like connection, but oftentimes it's really a manipulated hope. And hope is what keeps us stuck. Hope is where we just say, oh, well, but maybe if they do this, then they'll do that. Or maybe if they show up like this, well, then we could have the relationship. And we start to hope and then we project on what we'd like this person to be as opposed to accepting them for who they are. And let's go over some real life examples, because me, when I was dating, I would see that shit in different ways. And these are different like nervous system attachment styles. And so there's the surface level example of what I had said, like they text you up and then they disappear, or they react like with a story with like the eyes or the flame emoji, but they never ask you how you are. They'll leave comments like the flame on a thirst trap after a month of fucking silence. Or, you know, you'll hear somebody that says like, I've just been busy. I've been so busy. And it's a placeholder excuse, but they're not, they keep circling back, but there's no change. And I feel like for a lot of the times, especially when people write in, like I work one-on-one with clients or I have them with my courses and things like that. And if you guys want more, everything's at sabrinazohar.com, or you can watch one of the podcasts that are here. Whatever you guys need, we got you. But I'll get people to write in of like, I haven't heard from this person in 3 weeks, and then they text me, but then they disappeared, and then they did this. And it's like, yeah. And notice the addiction loop. Notice how you're waiting for them to text back. You're waiting for them to come back. You're waiting for the message. I remember dating this guy when I lived in LA, the first go around when I was single. And he was the king of that intermittent reinforcement. Every time I'd go, like I would post a photo on a story, and I was obsessively checking to see who looked at it, to see if he had seen it, to see. And maybe 1 out of the 10 he would respond to. And then he would always do the like, we should hang out. I'll let you know. Maybe we'll see. He would only text me when it was convenient for him. He would text me at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. instead of being like, hey, I'd like to take you out on a date, or hey, can we make a plan? Like these are people that when we talk about that shallow kind of example, they're people that are not actually trying to have depth. They're not making consistent plans. They're not showing up for you, because if they were consistent, then you wouldn't have that intermittent reinforcement where you're constantly waiting to see if they're going to come back for you. And again, our nervous system lights up. And if that feels familiar, or if you're somebody who's more secure, you're going to look at that and say, no, thank you. That's super inconsistent. That doesn't work for me. I'm not interested in that. That's okay, right? Wherever you are in your journey, it doesn't matter. Even if you're one of the insecure attachments, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. There's just a difference in the way people handle things. Versus if you have more of the anxiety, which is the world that I kind of came in from, then that's going to look like a challenge to overcome. I want to get them. Maybe, and if I just get more, because you're starved for any kind of fucking attention, so you'll take the crumbs because it's better than having nothing. But baby, when you're walking through the desert and you're thirsty, do you drink the poison just because it's there? It's like, no, I'd rather keep on walking and give it my fucking all, knowing that I'd rather be alone than in bad company than take what I can get without realizing there might be a waterfall down the fucking street. So some deeper examples of somebody who breadcrumbs is they might trauma dump early, they'll build intimacy quickly, and then they start to cool off. And what this is, again, it gets you feeling safe, feeling secure with this person, and then you notice the shift, right? They might say, I'm just not ready for anything serious, but they'll still flirt and emotionally engage. That's because they like the validation of what it gives them, but they don't give a shit about you. They're not sitting here being like, hey, how's this impacting the other person? They might DM you every few weeks with like, I had a dream about you, and then they vanish. I have had that of like, oh, I thought about you last night. And then you're like, oh my God, you did? You did? And then all of a sudden they don't fucking answer your messages. And you're like, oh, okay, just kidding. Or their messages feel intense, but they never fucking lead anywhere. Like, we have such a connection, but there's no plan behind it. So you're like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? And so a lot of the times, again, we have to look and say, what is the follow through? Is this person creating safety? Because if they're not creating safety, that's why you're probably going to become obsessive and trying, and the breadcrumbing, it just keeps you on that loop of maybe I'll get enough. And really where it stems from, low self-esteem. If you don't believe you are deserving and worthy of more, then you're not going to demand more from the people that you're dating. And why it hooks you, again, your brain is chasing resolution, it's not love. So if you want clarity more than connection, well, then you're going to constantly be seeking of like, please, where is it? Why aren't I getting it? And you're constantly going to be asking. That's when you send it to the group chat, right? You send fucking 15 of your girlfriends or guy friends being like, can someone explain to me what this means? Because they're not offering clarity. For the anxious attachers, it's going to mimic that parental inconsistency. I know for me, that was something that I was so used to. My father being in and out, hot and cold, inconsistent. And I was just constantly being like, when is he going to come back for me? And you know what? My dad did come back. They always come back. And it was like, yeah, in an unhealthy way. He didn't come back changed. He didn't come back trying anything different. It was the same bullshit, but my brain was like, maybe this time it'll be different. And for avoidance, breadcrumbing feels safe because there's no fucking intimacy risk. That's why for a lot of avoidance, they'll be okay with that super slow, like painfully slow progression of it because there's no real intimacy. It's just kicking the can, it's kicking the can, it's kicking the can. And the thing is, breadcrumbing is often subconscious self-protection. And it could also be attention seeking, but it's not always malicious, but it can be really fucking harmful. And so I think it's important to be able to differentiate the two, that I'm not saying that these people are doing this because they're trying to waste your time intentionally or they want to hurt you. Not everything comes from a place of malice, but that doesn't mean that the outcome, right, that you are hurt isn't still valid. And so what we want to look at is like, what do you do if you're being breadcrumbed? Okay, so what not to do? I don't need you to try to earn more crumbs by being cool or low maintenance. That's not the fucking answer. That's not the answer of like they text you all these times randomly and just being like, oh, okay, yeah, just let me know. Oh my God, yeah, like whatever works for you. Meanwhile, you're sitting at home planning the fucking wedding in your house, but this person's never even taken you out on a proper date. I don't want you to call them out hoping that they're suddenly going to commit. You know, you don't need to convince yourself that, oh, they're just scared. And if I just have it's like, no. Anytime, like I remember the guy that was breadcrumbing me, when I showed up and was like, hey, I appreciate these messages, but I'm really intentional with the way that I date. So if you're going to message me, let's actually make a plan. And if not, that's cool too, but I'm not interested in this. And he was, oh, whoa, what's the rush to the altar? And I was like, nah, deflection. No, thank you. You don't like the boundary that I set and you're trying to push it onto me as if I did something wrong and I'm too much and I'm not going to own that shit. And so again, it's not about trying to be like, oh, I'm going to show them and I want to show them everything they do wrong. It's like, you're just going to waste more of your time. What I would say is like, hey, I've noticed a pattern where we talk and then it fades. I'm not available for inconsistency anymore. Just set that fucking boundary. Or if you're unsure, that's okay, but I'm not going to stay in limbo. It doesn't make me feel good. And that's what I told the guy. I'm like, I'm not interested in this. And then he was able to either make a decision and I was able to see, okay, this person's wasting my time. I didn't need to block him. I didn't need to make it a dramatic thing. I didn't need to send him the fucking text message that was a novella. I was just able to say, this doesn't work for me and move on with my life. We went on one date. We texted for like 2 weeks. It wasn't anything it didn't need to be. And so if we're talking about tools, again, if you guys want help with this, there is the foundation course that is so goddamn beneficial in helping you break it. Helps you understand the patterns, helps you understand your nervous system. We've got that, and there's free group coaching for life if you're a part of the course. So join it now if you guys want more, or you can work with me one-on-one if you need help with this. But the first thing is like, got to name the loop, right? This is intermittent reinforcement. This is a breadcrumb. This is not actually enough for me. Break the fucking loop, because what happens when we get on that spiral in your brain, you're not actually able to come back to the present moment. Because then once you regulate, I want you to ask yourself like, am I reacting to what they're giving or what I'm hoping they'll become? That way you can start to separate the fantasy versus the reality. Then if you want to disconnect from the fantasy, write out what they're actually doing, not what they could do. I want you to literally have like a part of this sheet or this piece of paper. The facts that I know to be true are like when I had the guy, I could have said, well, we had this amazing date and he's so thoughtful and he's so sweet. And it's like, no, the facts of the matter were he wasn't making plans with me. He wasn't showing up consistently and he was giving me intermittent reinforcement. And that did not work for fucking me. And it's okay to take up that space and own that you want more. You're not, because here's the reality, baby. You'll cry now or you'll cry later. And if you're going to say, well, I'd rather take anything, otherwise I'm alone. It's like, well, then we need to look at the discomfort with being alone and what's scaring you about that. Because while I get it, that's a really human, that doesn't mean that we need to take anything we can get. Breadcrumbing is not affection. It's not attraction. It's the fucking illusion of effort, and it thrives on you hoping for more. So allow them to be inconsistent because you get to opt out. You get to decide that this doesn't work for you, and you get to decide that you fucking deserve better. Because when I changed the way I dated, when I stopped listening to this bullshit, when I stopped trying to make it about my worth, when I stopped putting myself in, when I just removed myself and said, this doesn't work for me, I was able to meet my partner a few months later. And it wasn't because, oh my God, I changed all these things. No, I changed how I showed up and what worked for me. I stopped personalizing it and I stopped putting my self-worth into how other fucking people were treating me because that was a reflection of them, not me. And like I said, guys, if you want more, subscribe, follow along. We've got podcasts here. I've got a course if you guys need more. If you want to work one-on-one, ask a question, everything's at sabrinazohar.com or right here, link in the show notes. I got you, babes.